Bhopal, India, December 2nd, 1984. A night that would forever change the lives of thousands. It began subtly, a faint sweet smell that lingered in the air almost unnoticed at first. Like overripe fruit, some said, others burnt almonds. The descriptions varied, but the unease was universal. No one knew what it was. No one understood the danger that was creeping closer with each passing second. This wasn't a harmless odor. This was death approaching, silent and unseen. As the night deepened, the smell intensified, becoming more pungent and alarming. It seeped into homes, through cracks and crevices, invading the sanctity of people's private spaces. It wrapped around sleeping families, an invisible, insidious threat that showed no mercy. People woke with burning eyes, a choking cough. Panic began to rise. Something was terribly wrong, but no one knew what. By the time the alarm sounded, it was too late. The damage had already been done. A cloud of deadly gas, methyl isocyanate, had escaped from the Union Carbide pesticide plant, spreading its lethal tendrils. It rolled through the city, silent and swift, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. An invisible monster consuming everything in its path, leaving behind a city in despair and chaos. At the heart of this tragedy lay the Union Carbide plant, a symbol of both hope and despair. A symbol of progress, they called it. A beacon of industrial advancement in a developing nation, bringing jobs, boosting the economy, and promising a brighter future for the local community. But this plant, built to produce pesticides, held a deadly secret methyl isocyanate, or MIC, a highly reactive chemical, toxic, volatile, and extremely dangerous. A single drop could burn skin. Inhaling it, unimaginable. The consequences were dire. Yet there it was, stored in massive tanks at the heart of Bhopal, a densely populated city, a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode. The potential for catastrophe was ever present. The plant itself, riddled with safety violations, cost-cutting measures, ignored warnings, alarm systems, malfunctioning, safety procedures disregarded, neglect was rampant. The stage was set for disaster. All the warning signs were there, but they went unheeded. And on that fateful night, the unthinkable happened. The city slept, unaware of the impending doom. Water entered a tank containing MIC. A runaway reaction ensued. Pressure built, temperatures soared to dangerous levels. The tank's safety valve, corroded and neglected, failed. It was a critical failure. And then, the deadly cloud escaped. A toxic plume that would change lives forever. Imagine this. A city of nearly 1 million, shrouded in a thick fog of poison. The air, once clear and breathable, now a toxic miasma. Panic in the streets, people running, gasping for air, their lungs burning with each breath. The fear in their eyes unmistakable. A scene straight out of a horror film, only this was real. The terror was palpable, the chaos unending. The gas, heavier than air, clung low to the ground. It seeped into homes, schools, and every corner of the city. Children, the most vulnerable, breathed it in deeply. Their innocent faces contorted in pain, their small lungs struggling to cope. Their small bodies no match for the potent toxin. Parents, desperate and helpless, tried to shield them. Families, fleeing in terror, collapsed in the streets. The strong helping the weak, but even the strong were faltering. The air filled with the sound of screams and desperate pleas for help. Hospitals, ill-equipped and overwhelmed, struggled to keep up. Doctors, clueless about the gas, struggled to treat the endless stream of victims. Their training, inadequate for such a catastrophe. Oxygen, the only hope, was in short supply. The demand far outstripped the available resources. The city plunged into chaos. Every corner, every street, a testament to the disaster. The night, a symphony of suffering. Cries for help echoed through the darkness, a haunting reminder of the day's horrors. Section 4. Chaos and Despair. A city overwhelmed. The hours after the leak were a blur of chaos. Ambulances overwhelmed, hospitals overflowing with the dead and the dying. The stench of death and chemicals hung heavy in the air. The official death toll? The government claimed around 3,800. Independent estimates, as high as 16,000 in the immediate aftermath. The true number? Lost in the fog of tragedy and government denial. Those who survived the initial onslaught faced a lifetime of suffering. Blindness, respiratory illnesses, cancer, and birth defects plagued survivors. The gas, a silent killer, left an indelible mark on Bhopal and its people. Section 5. The Unending Nightmare. Bhopal's Toxic Legacy. The tragedy didn't end with the gas cloud dissipating. The toxic legacy of that night lingered. The factory site abandoned but not decontaminated. Chemicals leached into the soil, poisoning the groundwater. Generations later, Bhopal continues to suffer. Children are born with birth defects, cancer rates remain abnormally high. The water, a source of life, now carries the risk of disease. The Indian government slow to respond, even slower to act, cleanup efforts inadequate, compensation for victims meager and hard-won. Bhopal, a stark reminder of the human cost of industrial negligence. Section 6. Justice denied. The fight for accountability. In the aftermath of the tragedy, the world demanded answers. Who was responsible for this horrific event? The finger pointed squarely at Union Carbide. The Indian government filed charges against Union Carbide and its CEO Warren Anderson. But Anderson, evading justice, remained out of reach. He died in 2014, a free man, never held accountable for his role in the disaster. After years of legal battles, Union Carbide paid a paltry $470 million in compensation. A pittance compared to the scale of suffering. Justice for Bhopal, a distant dream. Section 7. Never again. Bhopal's call for global action. The Bhopal gas tragedy stands as a chilling reminder, a wake-up call to the world. Industrial safety, environmental regulations, corporate responsibility. These are not just buzzwords, they are matters of life and death. Bhopal's legacy must be one of action, strengthening industrial safety standards, holding corporations accountable for their actions, ensuring access to clean water and healthcare for all. We must never forget the victims of Bhopal, their suffering, a stark reminder of the human cost of greed and negligence, their memory, a call to action, a call for a safer, more just world.